You know, here we are in the Gulf Coast on our not so hot season that we lovingly refer to as fall, right?
It's so true.
And you know, the most asked question, people come into the nursery right now and they go almost in a panic. What can I plant right now? It's going to be cold. Everything. This is when we want to plant. This is our forgotten spring. So if you see it at Our Brigade, it's time to plant it.
Yes. There's less that you can't plant.
Exactly.
You know, in other words, I might not plant basil now,
right,
but I would plant every other herb because they just love this weather.
Right, and you know that oftentimes that's also my answer is what can't you plant?
Right.
Other than a tropical, I would say pretty much anything.
Anything.
Yes.
Right now, trees and shrubs, this is the best season to plant those.
Absolutely.
And when we think of shrubs, we're not just talking about greenery, we're talking about our flowering shrubs, okay, like these roses.
Our evergreen herbs.
Evergreen
rosemary.
herbs, yes, rosemary and all the rest. This season is a little cooler.
Yes.
And we do get intermittent rains. If nothing else, we just don't have those long periods of drought.
Right.
But planting now gives all of these trees and shrubs, your larger foundational plants, a chance to get established. They're going to spend the winter time putting out a good root system, getting rooted in, getting built up and ready to go. They'll put on new growth.
Right.
Roses will grow like crazy during
these months. They love
the
cool season.
And so by the time we do start hitting those warmer days in May and then off into summer, they'll be well established. They won't be in that very tender trying to get started.
Right.
And so they'll be much more resilient through their first summer. It's just perfect for them.
Well, and what the point to what you just made was it's not cold that's an issue here.
Right.
It's heat.
It is the heat.
So we're getting ready now for the heat.
That's right. We are getting ready for the heat. Get them off and running, well established, so that they don't have to do all that work in the heat of summer.
So you and I both have this problem of having a lot of favorites.
Yes. Unfortunately, lots of favorites.
So we both ran through the nursery this morning, and obviously we can't grab everything, but we brought some of our favorites and tried to point out we want to show you some of the new things that are available to you this fall as well. But again, you brought to mention the roses. The rose blooms are the most intense in color.
Yes, they are.
The largest in size.
Right. And
incredibly fragrant in the fall and winter.
They are very much so, and they will put on a lot of foliage now. We have less trouble with fungal diseases.
Right.
So the foliage is healthier, and that just contributes to the overall health of the plant. In fact, you'll find yourself maybe on like I just recently did, even during this time period, that you'll go out and need to tip them out a little bit.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
They flush with new growth.
With the food complete right now. They're still growing.
That's one of the biggest misconceptions, is that we should stop fertilizing in the wintertime.
Right.
We don't want to fertilize them with synthetics that push a lot of very tender growth. But we want to be constantly replacing those natural nutrients that we have in our food, the natural things that they will use when they need them, and that's triggered by temperature and moisture.
Right.
So when they need them through the winter, it'll be there.
Right. So I'm going to talk, the other thing about roses too is they're such a great nectar plant in the winter.
Right, they are a good nectar plant.
So I'm going to talk about, well, there's these three.
These three.
All right, so that little open face, happy, bright, sunshine yellow is lemon fizz. So if you want a really good moderate sized rose, say 3 to 4 foot, tall and wide, just ever blooming pop of happiness.
Yes.
Lemon fizz is a great one.
Yes, and very popular with pollinators throughout the winter.
Very fragrant too for such a small rose.
And then you have my favorite, Gay Hammond.
Yes.
I love yellow roses. I've always looked for what I thought was the perfect yellow rose.
Right.
Every one of them was not quite the perfect yellow rose, but this one is. I have it planted where I can see it out of my kitchen window. In the mornings it greets me, and it's always blooming.
Yes.
It is always blooming.
And then, of course, I had to bring up Beverly.
Beverly, of course.
And it's a great tea rose. If you want some cutting fragrance, Beverly I think the fragrance is even more remarkable than Belinda's Dream. And in the cooler season, you do get some like peaches and yellows, just a little blush in with that pink. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous rose.
Yes, it is. And the combination, isn't that pretty? Just
It's
sitting
beautiful.
there, they're beautiful.
It's beautiful because Gay's got that little touch of pink in her too.
It does.
So yeah, that is actually a really nice combination.
It's a nice combination.
And you know, with our roses, some of the best things to plant with those are our heirloom bulbs. Because, you know, it's a spot that we don't dig often.
That's right.
With these heirloom bulbs from Chris Weisinger and the Southern Bulb Company, you want to put them in the ground and forget you've got them.
Let them naturalize.
Exactly.
That's one of Chris's main focuses, is that we want bulbs that naturalize. And it's always, you have to be thoughtful about how you work bulbs into a perennial garden.
Right.
Because you don't want those places where you have something empty for a long time. So the combination of those with some of your perennials, or those with things like the roses carry the season, and then there's those beautiful little surprises of the bulbs that pop up during their season.
The rain lilies are remarkable.
You know, all of my gardening friends will tell you that one of my favorite things to say is you can never have too many rain lilies.
Right.
And it's the truth.
Mm-hmm.
They come in different colors. They have
different seasons.
Seasons of bloom. You can put them in. Often people will say, "Oh, yeah, I forgot that I had those." And then there's this beautiful flush of bloom. They do beautifully in little drifts under the edges of trees where you're kind of looking for something.
Right.
You know, it's just, they naturalize beautifully, and they're great hand-me-down plants.
A good tip too, again, under trees for your bulbs,
Under
where
trees.
you don't always dig. And then just bear in mind, a lot of these are growing through the fall and winter.
Yes, they are.
So under your deciduous trees, they're getting enough sun.
They certainly are.
So speaking of trees, how cool is that?
That's pretty magnificent.
That is pretty awesome. That is a slender silhouette sweet gum. I say the word sweet gum and I get this not too happy look back, but this is a ballless sweet gum. So, you know, we have such few colorful foliage trees in the fall. And so this guy is incredible. You've got that gorgeous, big, lush greenery in the summer, but in the fall, as you can see, it's already starting to turn yellows and golds and oranges and reds. And then even when it's leafless, the shape.
Right.
So it stays that columnar.
That's
it's
wonderful.
about a 4 foot wide, 25 foot tall. I mean, I can just see them lining a drive, or that one corner accent plant. It's beautiful.
You know, and it is kind of hard to find something that has a lot of impact but doesn't take up a lot of real estate.
Exactly. Especially with all the patio homes and everything.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's a winner. So the other thing we talk about a lot, and they don't want to let go, and we'll talk about our dear friend Ann Wheeler. October 1st is New Year's Day for herbs.
That's right.
So herbs and edibles need to go in the landscape.
Yes, they do. And this is where we get a lot of winter color, but can be useful other places too. So
our ornamentables.
Ornamentables, you know, the little calendulas, they are a happy color all during the winter, and they're very happy. They can tolerate pretty much everything the Gulf Coast can spit out to it. And then you have these pretty little blooms, and these are edible. So you can just take this and toss this into the top of a salad. Look how pretty that is.
It's gorgeous.
It brightens everything up. So many of the vegetables will have at least one or a half a dozen of the members of that family that has a lot of ornamentable quality to it. And this chard is one of those examples that comes in a variety of colors. The variety, the species is beautiful because it's green with a big bright white rib.
Right.
But then we have all of these bright colors, and just plant them like they are. Just plant them in a mix all together and they stay happy. And the wonderful thing about chard is it will grow now all the way through into the summer, and then you have a choice that you can either take it out during summertime when it's particularly hot in your succession planting, or you can literally set it and let it baby through the summer, and it'll flush again next fall.
Absolutely. So all these greens, you know, I love to plant the fennels, and again, we're not only planting ornamental, edible, but this is going to be for my butterflies in the spring.
Yes, it is. This is a host plant for butterflies, and so this is the type of fennel that you're going to want to allow it to just sort of perennialize in your garden. And if they arrive and they all eat it down to the ground, you're going to be happy, not sad.
Exactly. And you know, these plants know that's their job. They just put new foliage back on. It's not anything to worry about.
Right. In fact, if you kind of observe that, instead of thinking that you need to go out and get, pinch off every little thing that's nibbling in your garden, you'll see sometimes that plant will respond by very vigorous growth.
Right.
And so the fimbriatas and things like that, all of your fennels, parsleys, plant parsley for yourself, but plant lots of it.
Right.
Use it as winter edging for some things. One, it's beautiful all through the winter, and it does support our pollinators, and there's going to be plenty for you to nibble on too. But when you see the caterpillars, it's a happy thing.
It's a good thing. And all these cabbages and kales, and especially these mustards, the cooler it gets, the more beautiful and intense the color and the flavor.
They love it. And the funny thing about some of the kales and mustards is that we can have a very cold, freezing night.
Right.
And you'll go out in the morning and dead panic sets in, because they will literally be laying flat on the ground.
Yeah.
And you'll think, oh, I should have covered, or I should have done something else. And that's just not the case.
Right.
They'll do that. They'll lay themselves flat. But by the time you get mid-morning, they're going to be perked up just like nothing ever happened. And it does have an effect on them where it sweetens that flavor up a little bit. So, especially in the dark mustards, because they can be kind of spicy.
Right.
So they will tolerate it. You don't have to worry about them at all.
No, not at all. And this is a good example of an ornamentable planting.
Right.
You've got the dianthus, the little calibrachoa petunias, and yes, petunias will make it through the winter.
Yes, they will, happily.
The lobularia, the must-have alyssum. It is a alyssum lobelia cross. I've got it in some of the gardens around here. Been there 2 years.
Yeah, that's the other thing about fragrance.
Yeah, oh my gosh, yes. So this is Mizuna Mustard.
Isn't that gorgeous?
One of my favorites.
It's beautiful.
It is gorgeous. And in the spring, when it blooms, it sends up the bloom spike with those lemon yellow flowers that taste like honey.
Yes,
huge.
they do.
And I always leave a few plants in the garden and let them bolt, so to speak, or bloom, because the honeybees.
The honeybees are crazy about them. And also in that same family, the mustards and even some of your lettuces, if you let them bolt, that tiny little bloom is a favorite of the predatory wasps.
Right.
And so we're getting to the end of winter. If you'll let them bolt, those problems that you have with the early spring flush of insects that come in, nature can help you take care of them if you'll just encourage them to be part of your garden. And that is a major attractor.
Well, and another one is planting these large leafy greens, especially the cabbages and kales.
Right.
A lot of the ladybugs will overwinter.
Yes, they will.
In the large leafy greens in your garden.
Well, and mulch underneath them, because a lot of those insects love to stay in that mulch as well.
So, also, like we were mentioning, it's not only time to plant the cooler season flowers or everything, but I just wanted to kind of show you some of the new arrivals this fall. Mangave. You and I both have gotten so crazy about mangaves.
I am nuts about mangaves.
So this is a new introduction called Snow Leopard. Look at the variegation.
That is striking.
Look at the freckles. What I love is the more sun you put these guys in, the more freckles and color you get. They're evergreen.
Yes,
great
they are.
in the container or the ground.
Right.
You're looking at about 18 inches tall by 24 inches wide. So it's a perfect size.
And the interesting thing about mangaves is that where a lot of the succulent plants don't love our rainier seasons, the mangaves will tolerate them. They don't want to sit in water.
Nope.
But when we have those times when we have 6 or 7 days of heavy, heavy rain, as long as they're in just even normal drainage in the garden, they won't suffer like some of the other succulents do.
They're great.
They do very well in our environment.
And again, speaking to columnar in size and sometimes being limited on room or wanting a vertical accent evergreen in a container, look at this new gardenia.
I can't believe that one. That's just gorgeous.
Diamond spire, 2 feet wide, so very narrow, very columnar, 3 to 4 feet wide, perfect size, repeat bloomer, the daisy type gardenia flower, but that same wonderful fragrance.
But nothing beats it.
No.
And then I think a lot of people don't really think about the fact that some of them, like the aloe family, they're winter bloomers.
Yes.
And we do have pollinators that overwinter with us, including our native hummingbirds.
Right.
And they will constantly be visiting the aloe family during the winter time.
Look at the amount of buds on there.
That's crazy.
And you know, during the day, you know, I'll walk around and the bumblebees will try to get their bee butts up in this little tube, and the flowers all swollen. You watch to see, are they going to get back out again? But yeah, they love that. And look at this new yucca.
That's nice too.
Bright star. And you know what's nice about this? This is not a full sun yucca.
Oh.
This is a part shade. So again, it's almost at full growth right there.
Wow, that color in a semi-shade location would be really eye-catching.
It sings. And we can't talk enough about abelias.
Yes, they're nice.
They're beautiful. They bloom months through the summer.
Yep.
You've got, this one is Mardi Gras, a very moderate grower, but you can do some of the ones, the glossies, that get 4 to 6 feet.
Right.
They're good nectar plants. After the sweet little blooms drop, then these calexes turn deep, vibrant colors for the fall. So again, you know, you can't go wrong. You can't go wrong. And I wanted to show you this guy.
That's nice.
Yes. So this is a new introduction of a holly. So it is called, it's an arrow, and it was found by the same gentleman that did the Emerald Colonnade out of Georgia.
Okay.
So you know it's a Southern Belle. It's going to like us. But this guy only gets at maximum 5 feet wide.
How fantastic.
And you can keep it pruned to this width, 3 foot.
Evergreen and a good
evergreen,
size.
soft foliage, 8 to 10 feet tall, container or ground. I am loving this guy.
Specimen
loving
plant.
this guy. It just got here about 2 weeks ago, and I know we're one of the first to get it, and very proud to have it.
Yeah, that's absolutely great. That's going to be a very nice specimen to build another garden around.
It sure is. Well, we could go on and on.
We could.
We got lots of favorites.
all.
That's right. So come by and see us. It's time to plant.